If you'd asked me a year ago what I thought would cause tension between my sister and me, I might have guessed something about borrowing clothes without asking, or disagreeing over where to spend Thanksgiving. Not this. Not him. It started last spring, when Ethan Parker moved to Willow Creek, our quiet little town in Oregon where new faces rarely showed up without a backstory. He'd been hired as the new high school history teacher, a big deal here since the last one had been around since the late 80s. The first time I saw him, I was walking home from the library, arms full of books, when a stack started to slip. Before I could react, someone caught the top few before they hit the ground. "Got 'em," he said, handing them back. His smile was warm, easy. "Thanks," I said, shifting the stack in my arms. "You live around here?" he asked. "Born and raised," I replied. "You're new?" He nodded. "Just moved in last week. I'm Ethan." That was it. Just a short exchange before he headed in the opposite direction. But for the rest of the day, I kept thinking about his smile. My younger sister, Haley, has always been the more outgoing one. Where I'm careful, she's spontaneous. Where I blend in, she shines. A few days later, I mentioned Ethan while we were having coffee at the kitchen table. "Oh, I've met him," she said, her eyes lighting up. "Saw him at the diner. He's cute. And single." There was an unmistakable spark in her tone, the kind Haley gets when she's decided she's interested in someone. I smiled, keeping my own reaction in check. "He seems nice." Haley leaned back in her chair. "Nice and handsome? Dangerous combination. I might just have to find a reason to run into him again." I didn't say anything, but a quiet little voice in my head whispered, "He was mine before you even noticed him." In a small town like Willow Creek, you can't help but cross paths with people, especially someone new. Over the next couple of weeks, I saw Ethan everywhere. In line at the grocery store, reading at the park, grabbing coffee at Maple Street Cafe. Each time we exchanged a few words, and each time, I felt a little more drawn in. One Saturday, I ran into him outside the hardware store. "Hey, you're the book rescuer," he said, smiling. "And you're the new history teacher," I replied. We ended up talking for 20 minutes about everything from the challenges of small-town living to his plans for starting a local history club at the school. I liked the way he listened, not just waiting for his turn to speak, but really listening. When we finally said goodbye, I realized I was smiling all the way home. Haley, true to her word, found reasons to bump into Ethan too. I heard about it over dinner one evening. "I saw Ethan at the farmer's market today," she said casually. "We talked about music. Did you know he plays guitar?" "No," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "He said he might play at the summer fair," she continued, twirling her fork. "I think I'll make sure I'm there to cheer him on." I nodded, forcing a smile. But inside, I felt a twist of something I didn't want to name. A few weeks later, our town announced a volunteer project to renovate the old community hall. I signed up because I'd been part of the town's events committee for years. On the first day, I walked in and saw Ethan carrying a stack of paint cans. "You volunteer too?" I asked. "Of course," he said. "Figured it's a good way to meet people." We ended up paired for most of the afternoon, painting the front porch and swapping stories about our favorite history books. When Haley arrived the next day, she gravitated toward Ethan right away. But I noticed something. While he was polite and friendly with her, he didn't seem as engaged as when we talked. It was subtle, but I saw it. And it made my heart race. One rainy afternoon, I ran into Ethan at Maple Street Cafe. The place was nearly empty, so we ended up sharing a table. "You know," he said after a while, "this town is starting to feel like home." I smiled. "That's good. Not everyone adjusts so easily." He hesitated, then said, "I'm glad I met you early on. You've made it easier." I felt warmth spread through me at his words. For a moment, I considered telling him about Haley's interest. But I didn't. Instead, we talked until the rain stopped, and I left feeling like something between us had quietly shifted. The summer fair is a big deal in Willow Creek. Live music, food stalls, games, and the whole town coming together. True to what Haley had said, Ethan played guitar on the small stage near the park. He spotted me in the crowd and smiled mid-song. My heart flipped. After his set, Haley was the first to reach him, complimenting his performance and laughing at something he said. I joined them a moment later, and I could feel her subtle edge, like she was staking a claim. But when Ethan suggested we all grab lemonade, it was me he turned to first. A week after the fair, Ethan stopped by the library where I work part-time. I was hoping to run into you, he said. I wanted to ask if you'd like to check out the hiking trail by Pine Ridge this weekend. I hesitated. Just us. Just us, he confirmed, smiling. There it was. The moment that confirmed what I'd felt for weeks. The trail wound through tall pines, the air fresh and cool. We talked about everything, his plans for the history club, my favorite books, places we both wanted to travel. Halfway up the ridge we stopped to rest, and he looked at me for a long moment before saying, I feel like I've known you longer than a few months. Me too, I admitted. We didn't kiss. We didn't need to. The connection was there, unspoken but undeniable. I knew I couldn't keep it from her. That evening, I sat Haley down and told her everything, the hike, the invitation, the way I felt. She was quiet for a moment, then sighed. I kind of knew. The way he looks at you, it's different. I felt relief and guilt in equal measure. But she smiled faintly and said, Just promise me you'll be happy. That's what matters. Ethan and I didn't rush into anything. We kept seeing each other, spending time together, learning the small details about each other's lives. Haley stayed supportive, even teasing me sometimes about being the lucky one. And I realized something. Sometimes, the person who's meant for you doesn't arrive with fireworks or grand gestures. Sometimes they just show up one day, help you pick up your dropped books, and quietly become a part of your world. It's been a year since Ethan first arrived in Willow Creek. We're still here, still together, still learning about each other every day. Haley found someone too, a musician she met at last year's fair, and she's happy. Looking back, I realized the truth. Ethan was always mine, even before either of us understood it.